Yeah, I'll react to that. Sure.
I can do this. I can understand.
The National Health Service has been called the closest thing the British have to a religion. Ever since its creation in 1948, it's held a special place in the national psyche, and right from the beginning its workforce has been drawn from all over the world. The one thing most non-Brits know about the NHS is that it's free. So if you visit the doctor, it's free. If you need an operation, it's free. Having a baby is free. Parking at the hospital is... Actually, they charge you for parking at the hospital. But if you get hit by a car and need to go to hospital by ambulance, it's free. While the NHS may be free to use, it's not actually free. Next year's health budget will be something like £140 billion. The total cost works out to about £2,000 per year per person, which sounds a lot, but it's actually quite low by international standards.
I wonder what the healthcare costs per person per year on average if you had to pay for it. Like, what would it come out to? Obviously, the point is caring about your fellow citizen, not just your own health benefits, but just sort of curious.
In the US, for example, per capita healthcare spending is more than double that. The NHS may be one of the most efficient health services in the world, but it's also a sprawling entity.
Wait a second.
UK-wide, per capita healthcare spending is more than double that.
I thought the one benefit of not having a national health care service is that you don't have to pay as much individually per capita, and yet we pay double. Okay.
The NHS may be one of the most efficient health services in the world, but it's also a sprawling entity. UK-wide, there's a baffling array of NHS bodies. Over 500 clinical commissioning groups, health boards and hospital trusts, about 8,000 GP surgeries, plus the voluntary sector, private providers, and others. It also has numerous separate bodies for regulation, training, and strategy.
I'm interested.
Where was I? If that sounds like a system sorely in need of reform, that is the reformed version, the product of a 2012 Act of Parliament designed to give much more power to doctors in deciding how the money gets spent. In fact, the whole history of the NHS is a series of compromises between politicians and doctors. When the Labour government first created the NHS in 1948, it was in the face of bitter opposition from the doctors' trade union, the British Medical Association.
I have so many questions, guys. It's just, since it's a short video, I'm hoping to wait to the end, but then I might forget. Let's do an intermission for the questions I have already. So, how is it that America doesn't have a national healthcare service, and yet we pay twice per capita? So what's the reasoning for that? Is that because the costs are set in a more capitalistic business sense? Because I'm assuming British and American medical institutions, hospitals are using similar equipment, and so the costs should be the same. But I'm assuming the healthcare costs doubling for Americans is that the private sector decides the costs, not the government. Is that right there?
National standards.
So guys, so let me get this straight. So like the big difference between a private healthcare system and a national healthcare system is that the national healthcare system is that the private healthcare institutions can't, their job isn't to make a profit, it's to use the money from taxpayers to run their businesses. Or sorry, to run healthcare services. But then, does that result in any shortage of doctors? Wouldn't you sort of fear fleeing from, like, really good doctors fleeing from the UK to the US, where they can probably get paid a lot more? So I'm wondering if there's a doctor fleeing or shortage. So that's one question. Let's, and I would like to go through this again.
If that sounds like a system sort.
Okay, but at the end of the day, is repeatedly, again and again, it seems like British people love their healthcare system more than other countries like theirs. So something's being done right. I'm not looking for something to disprove this. I'm just trying to wrap my head around the any sort of drawbacks.
Reform strategy. Ooh, where was it? If that sounds like a system sorely in need of reform, that is the reformed version, the product of a 2012 Act of Parliament designed to give much more power to doctors in deciding how the money gets spent. In fact, the whole history of the NHS is a series of compromises between politicians and doctors. When the Labour government first created the NHS in 1948, it was in the face of bitter opposition from the doctors' trade union, the British Medical Association. One leading member of the BMA at the time said the NHS was the first step, and a big one, towards national socialism, and called the health minister, Aneurin Bevan, a medical furor. Move forward to the present day, doctors are barely more.
I get what he's trying to say, but I think that was the wrong. Wasn't World War II Germany very much against? Well, no, maybe I'm being the stupid one because I guess they wanted more of like a racial socialism in Germany. Okay.
Aneurin Bevan, a medical furor. Move forward to the present day, doctors are barely more polite about their political paymasters. The current health secretary, Jeremy Hunt, has found that his name has become, unfortunately for him,
nice grass.
rhyming slang for
to give them a 1% rise.
But if NHS history has been politically turbulent, it has also been packed with clinical advances. In 1958, polio and diphtheria vaccinations were rolled out nationally, drastically reducing deaths from these illnesses. In the 1960s, the contraceptive pill was given first to married women, then all women who wanted it. 1978 saw the world's first test tube baby being born. 1979, the first UK heart transplant. The 1980s saw
Excuse me?
tube baby being born, all women who wanted it. 1978 saw the world's first test tube baby being born.
Does that just mean the first baby, the test tube baby was still born in a woman, right? It's just instead of, it injected the sperm instead of ejecting the sperm. Okay.
1979, the first UK heart transplant. The 1980s saw pioneering use of keyhole surgery, and in 2002, the first gene therapy. But with glorious successes, there have also been terrible failures. In 2013, a report into appalling patient neglect at Stafford Hospital identified hundreds of vulnerable people who suffered at the hands of staff and called for a culture change in the NHS. Patients, the report said, were let down by a system that put cost-cutting and target chasing ahead of the quality of care. Winter brings the service's biggest challenges. Seasonal colds and flus can endanger the already sick. Staffing is stretched, and most non-hospital services close for the holidays. Hospital bed shortages are commonplace in winter. Despite these challenges, the NHS mostly works, and its founding principle remains a point of pride. Universal healthcare, free at the point of use.
So I'm just more interested in learning about the NHS than I was before. So the let me state going forward, I would love to. I don't know how long this video is going to end up being after this point. So a few things. I don't want to make this too long. So this is a big thing. So the reason that we over here pay twice as much per person per year in healthcare, despite not having a national health insurance, is because of profits. Correct? Is that because it's privatized over here? Hospitals are a business at the end of the day, and they want to make a profit, right? And so that's the reason for the increased prices. Is that correct? Also, I wonder if there is any drawbacks you guys see. I am aware, and I believe you completely. You can just tell by the amount of people that seem to love the healthcare system in the UK that it's amazing. But I'd be curious as to, like, any downsides you see. I'm not searching for like a gotcha. I think you guys do it way better than we do it over here. I'm also like, is there enough data over time to like, is there any sort of flight of doctors searching for a higher salary, maybe in the U.S. or some other country where they have a privatized system? And thirdly is with, as they said in the video, like the back and forth between doctors and politicians. It seems at the end of the day, regardless, I think the mindset, just knowing that if something happens, you're not going to go broke, you know, and spreading that payment if something bad happens over everyone is just the amount of peace of mind that must create must be have an enormous effect. Okay. The idea of like having a possibly life-threatening something, but not wanting to call an ambulance or get a hotel room. Jesus, I'm Freudian slips here at the hospital. That's the worst part. But I'm just curious: is there enough time to see any negative effects? And you know, is the push and pull here still working? I guess. Love y'all. Hope you guys are all doing well. I could talk longer, but I don't want to. I want to see what you guys have to say. Love y'all once again. Would appreciate if you liked and subscribed, and hopefully I will see you next video. Bye, guys.